and chair of the Blue Line Extension Corridor Management Committee. There, I said it all in one mouthful. Welcome, everyone, and we have a lot of a subject to cover today, and we have some new members, and it's really great to see everybody. I can't believe it was just December, so this year's marching along here, February 11th. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. You all know this is a virtual meeting, so if you can keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. We are recording this meeting, so you can refer to it later. It'll be up on the website. And by the governor's order, we're keeping this virtual, and that's the only downside is we will not have an opportunity for direct public comment, but the public is welcome to listen in. If you would like, if you're a member of the public and like to share some comments or have any questions, please feel free to email Sophia Guinness. That's sophia.ginis@metrotransit.org. And you can do that until really another week, till Friday the 19th. And those questions and comments will also be shared on the website. On that website, which will include, as I mentioned, all the comments, the presentation, it's bluelineext.org. That's Blue Line with two E's next to each other, ext.org. So as I mentioned, we have some new members, and some of those of us who have been involved for some time. And maybe if I can just name the city or the organization, and then we can just, as a way of introducing ourselves, you can kind of acknowledge that you're here and your name and title, and then we'll know who's in the room. So let me just start with Met Council, besides myself.
Reva Chambliss, District 2.
Reva? Anyone else? We may have people joining us. Okay, how about Hennepin County?
Sorry, Chair. West Coister Metro Transit.
Great.
Sorry, Chair. Linnea Atlas, Ingebretson, District 6, Met Council member.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Terry Drezen, Communications for Met Council.
All right, see, I'm getting people time to be quick on with their mute button. Hennepin County.
Irene Fernando, Hennepin County Commissioner, District 2, and recently elected the Rail Authority Chair. So a slightly different position, and really excited to be here.
Jeff Lundy, Hennepin County Commissioner, District 1.
Oh, Anna Schmiel. I'm one of the policy aides for Commissioner Lundy.
Hi, this is Eli Farhat on behalf of Chair Green. She'll be on at about 2:15.
All right, great, thanks. All right, Brooklyn Park.
Hi, this is Councilmember Susan Pah. Good to see everyone.
Welcome. Crystal.
Hi, this is Olga Parsons. I'm the council member for Section 2, which is the north half of Crystal.
Welcome. Robbinsdale.
Hi, Bill Blonigan, Mayor of Robbinsdale. I'm new to this committee. I did serve on some committees in the mid-'80s when I was on the city council, when John Darris was a Hennepin County Commissioner, if you can remember that name. I'm looking forward to this committee.
I remember John well. Welcome, William.
George Selman, Robbinsdale City Council, and Robbinsdale's alternate on this committee.
Sure. Hi, George. Golden Valley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Shep Harris, Golden Valley Mayor, and I have a City Council member joining me as well.
That's right. City Council member Jillian Rosenquist. I'm the alternate for Mayor Harris.
Great. Welcome, Mayor and Jillian. Minneapolis.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Abdi Salah here, alternate for Mayor Fry.
Hi, Abdi. Anybody from
Good
Minneapolis?
afternoon, everyone. This is Andrea Patterson. I'm the alternate for Councilmember Philippe Cunningham, City of Minneapolis, Ward 4.
All right, how about Brooklyn Center?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike Elliott, Mayor Brooklyn Center.
Hey, Mayor.
Hey, Chair.
New Hope.
Kathy Hempkin, the mayor of New Hope, and I'm a non-voting member.
Right, welcome. Maple Grove.
Hi, Mark Stephenson, the mayor of Maple Grove.
Great. Go ahead.
Mike Opatz is on. I am the transit administrator for the city of Maple Grove, managing Maple Grove Transit, and I'm the alternate to the mayor.
Right. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Osseo.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alicia Vickerman, council member in Osseo.
Great. All right, the Minneapolis Park Board. All right, how about the
Ms. Meyer is trying to rejoin, just as a statement.
Okay. Thanks. How about the Blue Line Coalition? Anybody from Blue Line Coalition? All right, how about the Metropolitan Airports Commission?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bridget Reef with the Metropolitan Airports Commission, Vice President for Planning and Development.
Welcome. MnDOT.
I'm Mike Barnes. I'm MnDOT's Metro District Engineer.
And
All right.
I'm the alternate for Mike Barnes.
Hey, John. Did I miss anybody that would like to introduce themselves? All right, well then, let's get on to our agenda. First, the approval of the December 10th, 2020 CMC meeting. Is there any edits or corrections? I know it went out with the packet, and if you have any corrections, we can let the staff know first. Well, hearing none, let's see if we can reprove it. I'm going to ask Dawn Hoffner to call the roll of the voting members. Dawn?
Okay, Councilmember Chambliss,
I believe that Chambliss is my alternate. This is Councilmember Atlas Ingebretson, and I vote aye.
okay. I don't believe, I think we both have votes, so aye. Okay. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Ellie Farhart for Commissioner Green,
This is Eli Farhat on behalf of Commissioner Green. I don't believe I have voting proxy authority. Chair Zelli, can you speak to that?
Well, we don't have you listed as an alternate, so, but if you would like to, it's up to you. We would certainly accept it if you voted to say aye.
I think I'll abstain. I think I'll abstain on this occasion, and then I'll double check with Chair Green. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Commissioner Fernando,
Aye.
Abdi Salah of Minneapolis,
Aye.
Mayor Harris,
Aye.
Mayor Blanigan,
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons of Crystal.
Aye.
And I didn't catch with Brooklyn Park, is Mayor West Hafner or Councilmember Fa here?
Councilmember Souza Paz
I think
here.
we're both here.
Okay,
Sorry, it just took me a little longer to get on.
okay.
And I'm an aye, so it's a yes.
And Mayor Elliott?
Aye.
And I'm not sure if Commissioner Chris Meyer joined or not yet.
My internet is working again. Thank you.
Okay.
Lovely.
So, what were we voting on?
Just approving the minutes from December 10th.
Aye.
And is Denise Butler or Nicole Bueller on yet?
Hi, this is Nicole Bueller. I'm on.
Bridget Reef?
Aye.
Mike Barnes?
Aye.
And Chair Zelli?
Aye. All right, those minutes are approved. So let's get on to the discussion and adoption of the CMC charter. It was included in your meeting packet as a draft. It kind of outlines the purpose, member responsibilities, the membership, and the postings of meetings, a lot of good housekeeping. We, as you remember, we did adopt the principles and the engagement processes. So this is just the charter. It's the beginning of a new year with a renewed, some new members, a new council. I'm going to ask Sam O'Connell maybe just to kind of walk through a few of the elements of the plan, just so we all understand what that charter means for us. So, Sam?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. I'm Sam O'Connell, the project lead for the council, and we're just going to walk through a couple of elements of the draft charter that was sent out to you. And then I believe we'll have some discussion on that. So, Jason, if we can move to slide 5. Really, the purpose of the charter is to just outline how we are going to work together in some basic understanding. Really, the purpose of the Corridor Management Committee is much grander than that, and it's really to receive the benefits of the local expertise that we have in our region on issues related to LRT development. So the committee will receive information and have discussion on environmental review processes, just general project development, engineering and design, and as well as construction of the light rail project as we move forward. Next slide, please, Jason. So in terms of CMC member responsibilities, we want to have active and robust conversation and discussion, and really relying on the members to help us surface and elevate concerns and opportunities that are impacting some of their communities or organizations as we go through our process. So in order to do that, we'd love to have you at every single meeting as we go forward, helping us, like I said, identify those project concerns and issues, in assisting in the development of the solutions. That's the richness of having a corridor management committee, is that we get to put all of our lenses together and make sure we're seeing issues or concerns and coming with solutions with that varied kaleidoscope of perspectives, and actively participating in discussion and sharing ideas and expertise, which I don't think is a problem with our members around the virtual table. Jason, next slide, please. CMCs are actually established in Minnesota state statute, and back in the 1980s. I don't believe under any circumstance could anybody understand the transformative abilities of light rail projects. So the scopes of the original CMCs were very, very focused to cities that have alignment or station. So basically, if you had track or stations in your communities, you were part of the CMC. Over the years, Met Council recognized that it's very important to have more voices, particularly more community and more business voices around the table. So we use the statute as a baseline, but then we've expanded the membership. So on slide 7 here, you can see the 23 organizations that we are suggesting that comprise the Corridor Management Committee. Most of our members with voting, and some of our new members coming on to gain their perspective, but also joining us as non-voting members as well. Slide 8, please. The charter also just references the fact that an alternate is allowed to serve in the capacity of the primary member if the primary member is not able to attend, or if the primary member is no longer attend, the appointing organization is also allowed to nominate a replacement. Slide 9. And just meetings, as the chair said, it just codifies that we will meet the second Thursday of every month, kind of going forward. Our agendas and project information will be distributed. Our goal is 5 business days before the meeting, so you have an opportunity to review the meeting materials. Post-meeting, meeting summaries, minutes will be approved at that meeting, but then posted after. So let me say that wrong. I was saying that wrong. Apologize. Meeting summaries will be approved at the next meeting and then posted following that meeting. So hopefully that didn't confuse folks. Anyways, all minutes, agendas, and presentations will be posted on the project website, as the chair said, bluelineext.org for reference. And the chair, the charter does call, allows the chair to call any special meetings if they're needed as well. So it's a very short document, but hopefully one that provides us a framework moving forward in the good work that the committee will be doing over the next few months. With that, Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Sam. I think that no question, this membership and the committees here is really important for this project. And I think, although this is brief, it really does give kind of the structure of how we can work together. And we all know in our lives that structure helps prevent any kind of confusion. But having said that, I'd be interested in people's thoughts. Why don't we just have a brief discussion on that? If anybody has an opinion or comments or thoughts, I'm hoping we can at least talk it through and then vote it, adopt it. But I'll open it up. Does anybody have any questions, discussion, thoughts? Well, it's a quiet day here in Lake Wobegon. I do know that this is something that might evolve. I do want to just point out too, as we start kind of defining the alignment, we may be open to adjustments in the memberships, but I think this is a really important starting point. And so hearing no questions, maybe if there's a motion to adopt and a second, that'd be great.
Mayor Blonigan, I move to adopt the charter.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Yeah, this is Tanya West Hafner, Mayor Pro Tem of Brooklyn Park. I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Any final questions or discussion?
I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. So since you had mentioned a potential openness around shifts occurring, should whenever the mitigation of the alignment is complete, is this, just to make sure I understood properly, so this is a charter that will be as is until a later conversation may occur, or what was, can you clarify what you were saying just for the understanding of the group?
I think it's really, I'm just saying now we should be open to the possibility of modifying it, but to modify it, we bring it back to the group and talk about it if we wanted to amend it. But I'm alerting that now, since we are looking at new alignments, that we should be thinking about what that might mean.
Thanks.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick question along those lines. If there's potential changes in the future based on the alignment, does that mean the cities that currently have municipal consent might perhaps no longer have municipal consent in the future?
Well, I think that's an issue that will have to not just come before this committee, but come to statute. I mean, it kind of depends where the alignment is and where the actual stations are. So I'm not the expert on that in terms of municipal consent, but in terms of kind of how we want to operate as a corridor, I think it's it's up to us, you know, if we want to make any modification. I'm just alerting to the fact that since there have been changes, I don't want to suggest that this is it forever. We should always be thinking about how we might evolve. Any other final questions, comments? All right, Dawn, if you will, could you call the roll?
Okay, Councilmember Atlas Ingebrigtsen.
Aye.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernando.
Aye.
Abdi Salah, Minneapolis.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Blonigan.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor West Hafner.
Aye.
Mayor Elliott.
Aye.
Commissioner Chris Meyer.
Aye.
Nicole Bueller.
Aye.
Bridget Reef.
Aye.
Mike Barnes.
Aye.
And Chair Zelli.
Aye. Right, that charter is adopted. And I should also say, if anybody has any concerns about the structure, how we're handling the process, you know, please don't wait for another meeting. Reach out to me, our staff, because we really do want this to be inclusive and to be effective. On to engagement and communications. You know, we're going to get an update on our project engagement, and that seems to be marching ahead. We're going to be getting updates from Sophia Guinness and Kathy Gold, and I think we're starting with Sophia.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. I want to start off by taking this opportunity to kind of ground the committee in our engagement philosophies and commitments. As you all know, light rail projects are no small undertaking, and that's why having a community-centric approach is so critical, because to fully realize the benefits, we need community input throughout the process, and that is really how we focus our work. We center our world in community engagement, and the engagement staff are embedded in every aspect of the project. So we attend technical meetings, we are part of the project management team, and we think about how every decision, whether it's a small technical issue that might affect just a handful of people, or major decisions, need to be brought to the community for discussion. Our goal is to be transparent and develop trust. And that is done in a number of ways, but most fundamentally, it's about being present and consistent and responsive. We also don't expect people to come to us. We want to reach people where they are. And you know, we've hosted a number of meetings in the project office, but that is a small fraction of what we do. Some of the best engagement that I've considered that I've done has involved the community, both taking leadership and in giving input in what we're doing. So we are always open to adjusting our methods and bringing in new ideas so that we can further our dialogue and dig deeper into the issues that we need to address. Next slide, please. So how do we do that? How do we take these kind of overall goals and make them a reality? Part of it is having very dedicated staff, and that's the community outreach coordinators themselves, but also our technical team, our engineers, our designers that come out into the community and really get into the issues with everybody. I have worked on a metro transit project, and I can tell you from previous alignments that as we get into these projects, I can name every business owner, most of our homeowners, basically everybody that it touches our corridor. When I talk about individuals or community groups, our technical team and project leadership know who I'm talking about. My colleague Kathy is going to talk later about our work to have community and cultural consultants further our reach and input. Light rail projects generate a lot of interest, and we want to make sure we're hearing from everybody. Yeah, I have experienced 1,000 comments a day and months with 300 meetings. So we just want to be set up to really have those conversations and get into the weeds and the big decisions. Community and business leaders and representatives are also a fundamental part of our structure. So our advisory committees help the flow of decisions and are really recognized in that flow. We also really spend a lot of time thinking about how the input that we need furthers our technical work and decisions. And with that, we track what we hear so that it's not just asking the community the same question over and over again. It's furthering the conversation and advancing the project and our goals. Next slide, please. So what do you need? You need a plan, right? And not only is it the plan and it's also how we work with our federal partners. And I've already kind of talked about part of what's in it, but it's our technical needs and our major questions. We want the community involved in that. There's our committee structure. We have methods that we rely on and are also informed by our community consultants. And there's things like demographics. If we're looking at our work and we are not reaching demographics that reflect the people in our corridor, we have not done enough work. We also have commitments. Our environmental justice is something that we track for our federal process and our environmental work. And we care deeply about accessibility. We want everybody, no matter what their ability, to be able to participate with us. Next slide, please. Here are just a few examples of our methods, but what I wanted to demonstrate is just our robust way that we find to reach people. And kind of like fundamentally, it's going to folks, whether that is literally showing up at their door, meeting with them in a meeting that they already host, or a community event that's already happening, then really thinking deeply about how we communicate our project goals. We've done a ton of engagement already, and so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Kathy to talk about what we've already heard and explain her great work in getting community consultants on board with us. And Jason, you can go to the next slide.
Thanks, Sophia. Happy to be here today, and I'm filling in for Joan Van Halla to update on our continued engagement efforts in the corridor alongside community and the first phase engagement consultants. We've been in full stride, keeping pace with past robust community engagement efforts. And together we have finished the first phase of engagement that helps set the stage by producing a community-informed engagement framework. And that framework wrapped up at the end of last month. And we're currently pulling together reports and final products. The phase 2 engagement will be focusing on finding a community-supported route, not using BNSF rail property. And this work will be a major part of what happens on this project throughout 2021. Next slide, please. In phase 1, we worked with 3 great community organizations, the Alliance for Metropolitan Stability, Juxtaposition Arts, and Harrison Neighborhood Association. And together we worked to refresh the project and community stakeholder list and conducted 10 stakeholder interviews. We brought the community together to listen to opportunities and concerns and some important questions. We also promoted an online survey that provided over 1,850 responses. And then taking everything we heard, consultants provided us with recommendations to guide phase 2 engagement going forward. Next slide, please. The interviews and listening sessions provided some great feedback from our community members. We heard that the focus of engagement should be on both specific and big picture project elements. and that it's important to be clear about why the community is being engaged. Is it to provide information or is it to receive it? How will that information be used to inform project decisions? And we know we have to move at the speed of trust. This work is relational, and productive relationships require trust at all levels. No matter the means of engagement, information needs to be accessible, understandable, and actionable. Offering translation and writing or speaking in plain language are steps to provide meaningful communication. And building and renewing relationships, they take time. Transparency and answering hard questions are at the root of that. Next slide, please. In late summer, the community learned that the project needed to pivot away from sharing right away along the freight corridor to finding a new alignment. There is valid frustration around this change. A lot of hard work went into the initial route, but at the same time, there's also excitement about the reroute. While reservations are heard, we are also hearing that folks are ready to roll up their sleeves and get started on what a new direction might look like. We heard there's a value in focusing on positives while at the same time acknowledging concerns. People want to know about the benefits this new infrastructure can bring, like connections to places, jobs, and opportunities, impacting negative environmental impacts and reducing disparities. We heard loud and clear that a top priority needs to be ensuring this investment benefits corridor residents and communities. This includes preventing displacement and building wealth in place, as well as minimizing negative impacts to residential properties and community businesses. This is really complicated but critical subject that will require agencies and partners at every level working closely together with communities to implement effective policies and strategies. Next slide, please. The survey was advertised widely through social media, GovDelivery, and the community consultants contracted in phase 1 engagement efforts. Within those advertisements, information on how to take the survey in other languages was also provided. Next slide, please. These next few slides show some high-level takeaways from the 1,850 surveys received through the phase 1 engagement work. Of these surveys, half the respondents shared demographic information, of which more than 80% representation being Caucasian and less than 20% people of color. This representation presents an opportunity for us to better engage with communities of color in similar surveys moving forward, but also speaks to the importance of having a multifaceted engagement strategy that connects with traditionally underrepresented communities directly. The age of respondents was more evenly spread in ages 21 to 59. Next slide, please. This slide is the key area destinations. In Area 1, which is the Brooklyn Park area, key destinations were provided at Target campus, North Hennepin Community College, and grocery stores. In Area 2, that represents Crystal, a little bit of Brooklyn Park, Crystal, and Robbinsdale, downtown Robbinsdale, North Memorial Hospital, and Crystal Shopping Center were named. And in Area 3, North Minneapolis, West Broadway Business District, North Memorial Hospital, and Theodore Wirth Park were named as key destinations. Next slide, please. The results for priority opportunities from LRT showed the majority of folks saw connecting to jobs as their major priority, with transit connections favored slightly lower, followed by connections to places like health services, shopping, education, and cultural and art destinations. Next slide, please. Other key takeaways from the survey included that gentrification and displacement are the top concern, and that includes housing affordability and small business leasing affordability. This is consistent with what we heard in all forums of phase 1 engagement, including the stakeholder interviews and listening sessions. The preferred engagement methods being virtual engagement tools and forums and pop-up activities within the community, we're also told. And preferred connections to transit stations or stops. Next slide, please. As we continue to synthesize feedback from phase 1 engagement, we are already planning for phase 2. Presented here is a timeline for the second phase of outreach, education, and engagement to find a community-supported route. The request for proposal for this next phase of engagement was released on January 25th, and we held a pre-proposal virtual conference on January 28th. February 8th was the last day for clarifying questions, and the proposals are due on February 16th and evaluations on February 19th. The finalization of contracts and the start of phase 2 engagement work will begin in March. Next slide, please. Phase 2 engagement efforts will be supported by contracts with multiple community consultants to form and an all-inclusive holistic team using the phase 1 engagement framework to guide our work. The contracts are going to be evaluated and awarded according to the community consultants' proposed scope of services and the areas they serve. This is a similar engagement model Hennepin County has used to support previous work on the Blue Line extension, as well as other county projects and initiatives. And that concludes my part of the presentation, Chair Zelli. I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thanks, Kathy, and thanks, Sophia. It's really great to be getting real feedback that we really are in the communities, and the process is clearly going to be shifting now into a new phase. I appreciate also that it seems like there's a delicate balance between apprehension and excitement. So we want to get it right, and having it based on that community feedback is really invaluable. And I understand this trust and the concern about not just the themes of equity, inclusion, other impacts like gentrification. This is keeping wealth in the neighborhood. I mean, that's the themes we're hearing. Maybe we just open it up. Any questions for Sophia and Kathy, or comments on this engagement process, kind of where we are now, from anybody?
Chair, may I? This is Mayor Elliott.
Sure. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay. You asked for. Did you ask for comments in terms of where we are?
Yeah, just any thoughts you have, any questions about the engagement, where we are so far, and any thoughts? Just kind of any comments you have. Did you have any thoughts, Mayor?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. So my connection's kind of breaking in and out a little bit. So I didn't quite hear everything you said, but I think you are asking for comments in terms of the engagement process. All right. Yeah. From what I hear, it sounds to me, that we're working with the right lens here, based on what I hear so far, and the recognition that we really should be moving at the speed of trust. At the speed at which we build trust with the community. And it sounds like we really are genuinely interested in finding out a sort of community-based approach and identifying, the community-supported routes, addressing the concerns right up front of housing affordability and concerns about displacement of human beings, and to put this in the front is refreshing. It is a change from my experience, from what I've heard in these big projects. Usually, it's the attitude has been, in my view, we'll deal with that after this has been approved and we've got the funding at the state level, and we can come back to that. And that doesn't work when we're talking about racial justice and equity. And we're looking at our region here in our state being the worst in the nation for disparity. So, I think we have to go hard. We have to really, and we are taking account of real issues here, and we're I think putting the right lens on engagement and right emphasis. One thing I will add, Chair, is the organizations that are doing the engagement work, I think, are, in my view, the right organizations. But also at the top of the engagement, let's see how we can diversify, the decision making about the engagement process as well, whatever that, for whatever that's worth. But like I said, overall, I think this is a good process so far. And one additional point is that I looked at the places where the surveys were conducted. I think Brooklyn Center Transit Station would be a great another place, because we have some of the highest ridership rates, and we're sort of like the gateway to this area. A lot of people, use that transit center hub and then go into the other cities. So I think that would be in terms of suggestion for getting more input.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Wonderful comments. And yes, transitways are really part of an interconnected network. So it's not just the line on the map, but it's all the relationships. And thank you for the comment. I think this is hard. This is such an important project, and we know taking the time now to try to get those issues addressed up front is your point. And I've always said you'll save a lot of time and effort and money, because what we don't do right now, the costs of mitigation and litigation and re-engineering, you can't do it. This is a generational decision, so it's really important. Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts, comments?
Yeah, Ms. Buzzelli?
Yes.
Kathy Hempkin from New Hope. So
hi, Kathy.
the line is going to come about a block from New Hope. Are we going to be involved in the community engagement process? Are they coming to New Hope and telling us what's going on there?
I'll defer to Sophia and Kathy. I think we want a pretty broad net.
For sure, and we'll want to work with when we start doing more things in person. We love to go to New Hope events where residents are gathering and kind of get community member feedback. Our Business and Community Advisory Committee is kind of cities on the line, but we definitely kind of expand our network in terms of getting overall engagement through the project.
I'm just kind of curious. I don't believe Brooklyn Center's on the line. Is that correct?
That's correct as well. But Mayor Elliott, like Mayor Elliott's suggestion to go to BCTC and do outreach and reach our current transit riders directly is something very much part of what we would hope our program to be.
Good, because I know we'll have a lot of transit riders too.
Yeah, and we definitely we're an investment for our transit riders, right? So we definitely want to make sure they're engaged and part of our decision-making process.
Thank you.
Chair Zelli, George from Robbinsdale.
Sure, go ahead, George.
I'm just curious, and this goes back to the previous agenda item a little bit, why Brooklyn Center is a voting member and New Hope isn't, if neither are on the line. It's a curiosity.
Well, thank you for the question. There's actually an answer, and that is that Brooklyn Center was in a really important, place on the committee for the past number of years. So we really kept the existing members in place, and that might be open to modification later. But I think we didn't want to disrupt what engagement and we've had along the way. And I'm thrilled that New Hope is here, and we really want to open the table up to those that have a stake, not just along the line, which is, very real with actual stations, but the communities that are, that are impacted, and which is a broader network. Any other comments? Because we're probably at time to move to the project roadmap.
Hi, Chair Zelli. This is Nicole Bueller from the Blue Line Coalition.
Hi, Nicole. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say, I think it's really great that we're recognizing the need for anti-displacement policies and that kind of, and, big investments up front. But I'm wondering, with regard to anti-displacement policies, what is the commitment of the different cities along the line to put those policies in place?
I think that's a great.
Maybe I should be more specific. I mean, in terms of anti-displacement policies like, rent control, tenant opportunity to purchase, just cause eviction, pay or quit, policies like that we know could help people stay in place and be able to actually benefit from this transit investment in their communities.
I think you've raised a really not just philosophical, but very practical, question. Not one that can be readily answered right here in the in this committee, but it certainly is a forum to raise the issue. So I think that might have been more of a comment than a specific question for answers today, as I understand it. But I appreciate your raising it, and we will certainly help facilitate that kind of conversation.
And Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can I suggest that is, I think, an incredibly important comment and question. And if I can suggest, and I don't know if this is the right time to do that, but if we can maybe discuss that at a future meeting when you feel it is appropriate, I think that is just probably the most, as we're getting from the survey results, that is the most important question, that one of the most important questions that we should be actively discussing and sort of coming around.
Great point. Thank you, Mayor. We'll make a note. Yeah. And thanks, Nicole. Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, then we're going to hear about the process, kind of an overview of we'll call it the project roadmap. It's not the actual map; it's the map of how to get to the map, as I understand it. And we've got Dan Solar and Sam O'Connell is going to walk us through the process of how we kind of develop this transit way and where we will actually have a route that's community supported, and then move it toward approval from the Federal Transit Administration. We also have Carrie Pierce-Rue, who will provide an overview of some of the community work activities. So I see you, Dan. Thanks, Sam and Carrie.
Thank you, Chair and members, and welcome to 2021 and the beginning of what we hope to be an extremely exciting and important year as we work to moving forward with this big project. And, last year in 2020, we met as a CMC a couple of times, and a lot of the work in 2020, a lot of the discussion in 2020 was this need to pivot the project and realize that with the inability to move forward with Burlington Northern, we were going to want to and need to do something different with the Blue Line extension. And that was to see if we could develop a route to build the Blue Line extension that didn't use BNSF right away. And so to that end, we started that work in 2021. We're going to talk a little bit about what the map of 2021 looks like as we move through those decisions. I want to start a little bit with the team that we've got working on this. So different than we've had in some of the past LRT projects that I've worked on, and I've worked on a number of them, we're really using kind of a joint project management team to lead this project that's co-led by Hennepin County and Met Council. So you'll hear Sam O'Connell very soon. Sam is my co-leader with me at Hennepin County to help guide this process of the Blue Line Extension project. And to date, we've broken our project up into 4 kind of arms or teams that help inform our project. The first one you heard a lot about already today. We've got a real robust communications and engagement group working with County and Met Council staff, as well as the various contracts that we are entering into with local organizations to help lead that very robust communications and engagement arm. As you would expect, typically, we also have a design and engineering arm. So we at Hennepin County, Met Council as well, have project staff that are working on that and various consultants that are helping us in those efforts to help understand where, when, how, what the impacts will be from various LRT routes, both that are in front of us and that we want to explore. Can be done. So that is an important arm of our team. The Community Works arm that is also led primarily by the Hennepin County Community Works effort on how to build other local community and connection and pedestrian bicycle and other projects into our group is very important. The land use decisions and the economic development decisions around here are part of that, and so they are an integrated and built-in part of our team. And I think a lot of you know from our adoption of principles, we still hope to move forward with this as a federally funded New Starts project. So we have an arm that looks at this, both the environmental work and the New Starts work in terms of moving this forward as a federal project. Those four arms feed us, and over the last week, and we've been using this slide for a while, over the last week, we've also now kind of learned, and we just had this discussion a few minutes ago, is that there's very likely a fifth arm to this project management team. And that fifth arm is all around the topics that you guys previously discussed. How right now, as we move forward with this project, are we also building in the issues around housing and housing costs and this minimization of displacement and disparity reduction and equity and all of those things. Now those are all overarching issues that touch in each one of these areas. But I can tell you that is not a Met Council or a Hennepin County or a city of XYZ initiative. That's an initiative for all of us working together. So I think it's going to be important that we continue, and it is definitely an essential piece of us moving forward, how we build those decisions in. We're learning from our new administration in Washington that equity is as important as any other factor in the implementation of major transportation projects. And we need and believe that will be a key piece in moving this as well. Go ahead, Jason. So you can move the slides, Jason. So part of what we need to accomplish, hopefully by the end of the year, is to see if we can't develop as a group here and as this team a community-supported route to build a Blue Line extension LRT project from Target Field Station to North Brooklyn Park without using Burlington Northern right away. So that takes place starting from a bigger map of what's possible down to hopefully a recommended route that we would bring to the federal government. So what's coming up next will be we'll want to start to release some preliminary route options that we can analyze and discuss. We've been hearing a lot from the community. Hey, what are you thinking about? Every time I'm talking at a meeting to some community group, it's, have you considered this route, or what about this route? Or so we want to get some of those preliminary ones out there for discussion very soon. In the summer, we want to look at those various route options, compare them, evaluate them, do engineering work necessary to answer some difficult questions, try to just talk about where it makes sense to have stations, and those kind of pieces, so that by summer, we can kind of get our arms around, by the end of summer, fall, towards the end of the year, we can get ourselves around the fact that we can come together all as a group with a single recommended route that we could advance. That's our goal. That's where we'd like to move. And of course, we talked about not moving faster than the speed of trust. And how do we answer the questions like Nicole posed earlier, which are much different questions than, do I need a right turn lane at this intersection or do I not? Can I fit the tracks here? Is this a good spot for a station? All important questions, but also how does building LRT impact the community and neighborhoods in and around it? And is that the place to be? Whether that's in Brooklyn Park, Robbinsdale, Minneapolis, or any other city along the route. Go ahead, Jason. So that's kind of where we are in 2020, or what we want to do in 2021, so that if by the end of 2021 we have adopted a community-supported alignment, then moving in, we can start to evaluate benefits and impacts of that alignment route. We can do some conceptual engineering to help, talk about fit and how those things can be done. That's part of what we also want to do for 2021. So, for example, in Robbinsdale and Crystal, if primarily we're going to look at Highway 81 as a potential route, doing some of that conceptual engineering to make sure that it fits and that the other things necessary to impact and be part of the community are in place. If we're successful, if we're able to do that by the end of 2021, then next year we move into kind of the next phase. We have to do environmental work to move our current record of decision through the federal environmental process to an amended record of decision. What are the environmental clearances that we will need and the mitigation measures for those that will be necessary to move this project forward? We'd also come back to the table on municipal consent. We did a municipal consent process on a specific alignment. We will have to do a municipal consent process on a new alignment so that we're in line with what our local municipalities think that project is. And then we'll start slowly, and then after that, developing the construction plans and moving this forward. So we haven't felt comfortable yet saying, here's where we are today and here's when opening day is going to be. I mean, we're a long ways from that right now, but we kind of know what we need to do this year to get us ready to do some of that beyond 2021 work in 2022. So that is part of what sets us up there. And go ahead, Jason. I think I got one more piece before I turn this over to Sam. This is a slide that we've been using to kind of show that we really don't have a one-size-fits-all idea of what the alignment and route of this route should be. So we broke the corridor down into 3 different areas, and what the options are and what the alternatives might be in any of these areas are based on our project principles. They're based on previous work done on the project. They're based on community feedback from our local cities and from others. And so, for example, just to walk through this quickly, in the northern rectangle up in Area 1, from all of Brooklyn Park, from north of Highway 610 down to just south of 694, the idea is to leave the current alignment where it's previously been designed. Center running LRT on West Broadway that serves hopefully newly redeveloped commercial, retail, and housing area north of 610, North Hennepin Community College, other residents and businesses along West Broadway. And of course, now that we have our partners here with Osseo and Maple Grove, how we develop connections from Osseo and Maple Grove and those communities into what we're proposing up there. In that long kind of diagonal rectangle, we've got the area that primarily is Robbinsdale and Crystal. What we're looking to do there, based on the principles, is likely investigate the viability of building LRT on Highway 81 from north of 694 to the Robbinsdale, Minneapolis border. It brings North Memorial Hospital into the mix, continues to provide service in downtown Robbinsdale, but we've got a lot of hurdles to look at and determine if that can be built and what that looks like, and we'll work with both of those cities to do that. As well, east and west of that line, we have the city of Brooklyn Center, we have the city of New Hope, and then even further west, the city of Plymouth. All 3 of those cities provide significant connections into the alignment, and how those connections work, where they go, how we build them into this is all part of what we want to do there. And then finally, Area 3, the rectangle on the bottom, that includes the cities of Minneapolis and Golden Valley. We have any different number of potential routes to analyze that would connect Target Field with kind of the North Memorial Hospital area. Where do we have available right-of-ways? Which routes might meet our principles? Where do they fit? And those elements. And so that'll be a little different means of not just looking at specific spots, but looking at kind of a larger range of options of how to connect those points, serve key destinations, and meet the project principles. So that's really the work that's in front of us for this calendar year. And I think Sam's going to now talk a little bit about, what are the more immediate next steps as we start to roll out these pieces.
Great, thank you, Dan. Jason, if we can move to the next slide. So as we think about bringing out this information to community members or residents or businesses, it really is focusing on the pieces that you heard earlier from Sophia and Kathy, really digging in, rolling up our sleeves and understanding, did we get this right? And this is really building off the pieces that Dan just talked about in terms of not only our just more recent engagement, but just what we know about the project area, the principles, actually taking those adopted corridor management committee principles and applying it, and really developing something that we feel that the communities can see themselves in it. This is the start of our conversations. It's not the end, it's just the beginning of the conversation. So what we're trying to do with this first step is validate if we did get it right, and really listening to our community members if we missed anything and what are those elements. And also to understand what's really resonating with our residents and businesses as they take a look and really begin to digest some of this initial information. In addition to that, we're also wanting to hear from our community members about the project's goals and the objectives, and eventually kind of evaluation criteria that's going to help us analyze not only the benefits, but also the impacts between some of these potential route options. And it kind of really begins to catalog that for us, and it allows us to develop that so we can understand it and really from the community's perspective and apply that as we go forward. We'd also like to know from community members that there's probably far more information that they're interested in hearing about and wanting to understand. So that is also a question that we'll be asking when we're out. It's like, what is that information that would be helpful for you to ultimately support a route option? And again, are there issues with some opportunities that you would like to know some more about, some details about some opportunities and what they could be, as well as challenges? Next slide, please, Jason. So we want to be very real with folks. We get it. There's a lot of engagement fatigue out there, and we want to make the use and honor the time of our community members. So we want to be very explicit of what's not going to be shared at this point when we roll out those initial route options. So really we are at a very high conceptual level in terms of what makes sense for LRT operations. That's what's going to be out on those on the route options at this point. So we're not going to have full detailed engineering design plans at this point. So we understand there are going to probably be areas where we might have to go over or under, but we just don't have that. We won't have that level yet. What we're really trying to share with community members is, where we think a route can be supported. So that also brings us to potential right-of-way impacts, which we clearly understand from community members that is a very important topic that we talk about. So that is the beginning of our conversation of like, what are potentially some of those right-of-way impacts, and beginning to have those conversations. Part of what we're not going to know as we bring out the initial route options is the full analysis of project benefits. So we're not right away going to know the, for example, ridership. We'll have a sense, but not all of it. That is some of the work that we will continue to do. Travel time from, say, endpoint to endpoint or between points, we will continue to analyze and have that information as well. But we wanted to be very clear that that is information that will be coming. Station locations as well. So as we think about these route options, we do not have specific station locations in certain areas. We want to build on the good work of the previous alignment, but in some of these areas, as Dan talked about, we are looking at new routes. So that is something that is going to come with additional feedback from community members. We want to make sure we're linking up the destinations that they see for themselves in their communities. Another piece that that is not included, but again, we're building is the inventory of project risks. Now, as you can imagine, 13.5 miles through 5 communities, this project in terms of multi-jurisdiction that's being developed over multi-years carries a lot of risk. We're beginning to identify that and share that with community members when we can really begin to put that in terms that makes sense for folks. At all levels and kind of all parts of our project, we do carry some risk. So we want to be open about that. As Dan said, we want to get to a community supported alignment, and that helps us reduce some of our risk moving forward as we move this project forward at the national level. So we also want to make sure we're articulating all of the risks that we might have with a project of this magnitude and complexity. And costs. We will not have a full set of costs at this point. We'll start thinking about what that might mean. We have an understanding of what it does take to build these projects, but in the initial route options, again, it's not something that we would have as part of that information that we share, but will be coming a little bit later on. Next slide, please, Jason. I also want to just touch upon some of the pieces that we've been hearing, and you've been hearing that not only through the comments at Corridor Management Committee today, but also the report outs from Sophia and Kathy and Dan are the things that we're hearing from the community members, that we are not going to forget about those issues that are central to the mission of a lot of our organizations we're working with and residents and neighborhoods. So we heard a lot about anti-displacement strategies and tools. What are they? How can we use them? That's something we will continue to track and make sure that we are having those continued conversations and we're on that roadway, that pathway for discovery of possible solutions. Clearly centering ourselves in equity, inclusion, and diversity. That is the mission of, I know, our organizations as well as so many around the virtual table today, and we need to center ourselves in those conversations in order to move forward. And really it is moving forward at the speed of trust and our ability to demonstrate that we are listening in particularly these areas. I don't want to lose sight for the fact that we understand the previous alignment did bring some benefits to communities, in terms of safety, in terms of connections, in terms of things that have been long desired by communities, and we don't want to lose that. And we understand that those are very important elements to some of our communities. So we want to continue to track that and make sure that we have a response and that we are solution driven as we move forward. And then we'll continue to, like many layers of a conversation, we know there's going to be additional issues that are discovered. And that is something that we'll continue to track and bring and share with the folks here on how we're addressing that. And again, kind of the role of Corridor Management Committee, helping us find some solutions as well. So with that, I believe, Chair, we just maybe want to hold and see if there's possibly any discussion before we move on to Carrie's slide.
Yeah, maybe we can pause for a minute. Is there any questions for Dan and Sam?
Councilmember Ellison here from Minneapolis.
Oh, welcome. Hi, Councilmember. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank everyone for being on this call, and I really appreciate the conversation, and I really appreciate the centering of anti-displacement as well. One thing with regards to route, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here. I know that there are like some. I got a chance to get a briefing yesterday to kind of see some of what we might be discussing here today, and I was really thankful for that opportunity. And I just wanted to mention that there might be some routes that we've already determined might not fit, but that the community might think really makes sense to them. And so I think for the purpose of good communication, it could be good to include routes like Lindale, for example. That'll seem like a natural fit for a lot of people, but and they'll really need a good explanation as to why certain routes won't work. So I just wanted to encourage that. And then I also wanted to say that with regards to anti-displacement, you know, in the city of Minneapolis, I think that we're trying and doing and piloting a lot of good strategies. And I'm happy to be a part of all of those things. I'm really mindful of the fact that in neighborhoods like the Harrison neighborhood, where this route is going to have to, in all likelihood, move away from, folks really feel like they got the worst of both worlds, right? They got the gentrification, right? I think that the CURA, the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs at the U of M, talked about how Harrison's probably the most gentrified neighborhood in the city compared to where it was and where it is now. So they got the gentrification because of the prospect of this infrastructure, and then they didn't get the infrastructure. And so I think that we've got to be really mindful about, you know, how we're approaching these anti-displacement strategies. And people are absolutely right that a lot of these projects are going to move, like this project is going to move at the speed of trust, and our ability to do engagement is going to move at that speed. But often trust itself is really going to move at the speed of policy, and quite frankly, it's going to move at the speed of money. And so we've got to be able to show people that we are going to invest in their ability to stay in the communities that they call home. And so I just wanted to really center that and say that I'm you know, sign me up as the first person willing to jump into those conversations and start thinking of those solutions.
Well, really, thank you very much, and that's I really appreciate your comments, and that is very helpful, and it is very aligned with our vision and commitments, and much work to be done ahead. Any other quick thoughts before we move to Carrie?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Bridget Rafe with the Airports Commission. Dan, I have a request. Because the initial analysis for the Botno corridor appears to be with moving it to the roadway corridor, and I could be wrong with that, but that's the sense I'm getting. That could have some pretty severe impacts on the airport there. And so I guess I would like us to start talking about that portion of the corridor sooner rather than later. Some folks from Hennepin County might recall the efforts we had to go through last time with regard to the railroad corridor and getting approval through the FAA and that sort of thing, and moving that corridor to the east towards the airport is only going to increase the potential impact. And so I think we want to try to work through that sooner rather than later to see if the Airport Commission can support an alignment along that roadway corridor and see what it means for the airport as well. Thank you.
Important consideration.
Mr. Chair,
yeah,
Bridget,
go ahead, Dan.
yes, we're well aware of that. I mean, I remember what we did as we were on essentially just west of the road when we were on BNSF's corridor, and of course this then just, you know, the airport is immediately crystal. And just so everyone remembers, Bridget is not speaking of Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, which, you know, which already has LRT under it. But in this case, the Crystal Airport runs along a good portion of the area north of Bass Lake Road in the city of Crystal. And so, yes, if we were to be center or side or wherever we may be with an LRT line, we will work on that. Yes, that would be part of kind of those early engineering analysis pieces to look at that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Just in the interest of staying on schedule, and I want to make sure we hear from Carrie, and then we'll have a chance for some more questions and comments. So, Carrie, you're going to take us to the community works element.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chair Zelli. If we could go to the next slide, please. Actually, the next one, there we go. I'm Carrie Pierce-Rue. I work for Hennepin County, co-managing the Botno Community Works project. And as many of you know, Botno Community Works has been around since 2012. We work in partnership with our corridor cities and with our community partners along the Botno corridor. So we're really excited about this opportunity to integrate even more closely with the LRT planning and engineering as BLRT moves forward here, looking at some new options. In the near term for us, integrating with the LRT project means sharing information and data from some recently completed work. Botno Community Works served as the project management team for an FTA TOD advanced planning grant. That work took us almost 3 years to complete, and we have a really robust set of information and data from that work, as well as some McKnight Foundation funded work through an intersections grant. And so we really want to make sure that we're sharing that information and data to paint a full picture of the demographics along the Botno corridor, as well as challenges and opportunities when we're talking about land use planning and economic development. But also a lot of this work looked at some of the key issues that we've been hearing about in terms of concerns about affordability and displacement, and really connections to jobs and key destinations along the corridor. So additionally, we did a lot of community engagement over that time period and in previous time periods with station area planning. So we also want to make sure that we really share that information that was gathered about community priorities and current corridor assets, so that as we're looking at options and discussing different alternatives, we have a full picture and we're getting all of that robust community engagement information shared out as well. So we look forward to incorporating additional issues that are coming out of the current community engagement that's happening into work that we do on Botno Community Works. One other thing that we're doing is that we're having some conversations with a few peer regions to kind of understand what's working in other parts of the country and how to integrate some of those equity and economic development opportunities into the alignment conversation. So we're hoping to learn from other areas around the country that are also grappling with this issue, because certainly these issues that folks are raising are not unique to this particular corridor. We are in the process still of organizing our work plan for 2021 and our organizational process. We have a staff group that meets just about monthly, and they have a meeting coming up in the next week or so. It's just kind of figuring out how we're going to approach our work for 2021. So we look forward to coming back to you in the future and kind of providing a little bit more detail on that. But we do know a couple of things. One is that we want to build on the previous work that we have done while incorporating the key issues that are coming up during these alignment conversations and the community engagement that's going to happen through 2021 as issues are raised. We want to make sure that we can incorporate them into our work areas. So a few examples of some of those key work areas that we're likely to move forward here in 2021 is building on small business support toward economic recovery. In 2020, not only did our FTA and McKnight, much of our McKnight grant work wrap up, but our city partners and even our Hennepin County Community and Economic Development team, we were really focused on trying to support small businesses through COVID and getting out those small business relief dollars. So as we reconvene in 2021 and kind of look towards what rebuilding looks like, we're going to look to see how we can coordinate those development efforts and build on those relief and support efforts to really benefit Botno corridor businesses. In addition, planning efforts to date have identified a number of infrastructure investments, bike and pedestrian connections that are high priorities for communities and for city partners. And so we'll continue to advance those in the parts of the corridor that it makes sense to move those forward. If some parts of the corridor we have to hold a little bit until we have some additional clarity, we'll certainly do that too. But those that can move forward, we should. And then encouraging transit-oriented development and promoting transit-oriented development that's equitable and community supported and delivers a high-quality public realm is just really a key part of what we try to do with Community Works. And so we're going to continue to work with our city partners on priority projects, working to identify gaps and coordinating efforts to connect to resources like Hennepin County's TOD program and other sources of funding or implementation resources that help communities move forward and meet their goals and desires. So we really look forward to this integration and planning, and we're happy to be a part of this group and look forward to coming back to you in the future as our work unrolls. So thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Well, we've heard a lot of information, and it's kind of an exciting time because this is obviously more than just engagement in selecting a route. It is a real balancing act here, as we've heard a lot of your concerns in the committee and in the community. We want to really capture the benefit, but not displace or disrupt. We want to reduce the risks but harness the community destinations that are going to be really meaningful. So I really appreciate Dan and Sam and Carrie and all of you in the committee. I think that you know, as we go forward, we're going to have more robust conversations on some of these elements, and knowing that again, this is not just a technical exercise. This is one where we really are balancing a lot of the concerns that you've all expressed. I want to give a chance for Sophia to at least give us a little update on the reappointment process for the community and the business advisory committees, because they're not here, but they're important voices, and you all have helped us identify some key members. So let's just take a couple of minutes to kind of go over what those appointments are, and hopefully they will join us next month. Sam?
Chair Zelli, may I make a quick
I'm Sophia. Yeah, go ahead, Irene.
Yes, thank you. So just wanted to express gratitude to all of the staff that put in a lot of effort regarding the information that's been presented. I hope that the CMC members see yourselves a bit in what has been presented. We have received, I shouldn't say we, but the council and Hennepin independently and through CMCs, a lot of feedback has been delivered over the last 6 or 8 months around what needs to be centered, who needs to be at the table, the ways that we need to ensure that at every stage momentum remains high. And I hope that that is what people are feeling and seeing here. Additionally, as has been noted already, transit, this line is meant to connect people to the places both locally and regionally. And so I hope that people here see your feedback being represented well. And if for some reason it's not, I hope that you feel comfortable reaching out to us. So thanks to everyone who's been involved.
Thank you, Irene. Absolutely. Sophia?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just kind of at the end here to kind of bring the last piece together, which is we've been busy bees finalizing our structure so that we can do the important work of this next year. And so to complete that structure, we got to have our community and business advisory committee. We don't have a complete roster yet. The council and Hennepin County are just finalizing their members, and one of our cities is kind of taking their process through as well, but we know the supposed direction as well. So I think we'll have the roster to share at the next CMC, but so far we have a very diverse group with some pretty amazing business and community leaders that will be part of our work, and we're really excited to get them engaged and involved. I think it'll just add to the complex nature of things that we need to talk about. And they will be joining you all at the March 11th meeting, and that's completing also the CMC roster for our next year. So with this, I hope we've set the table to kind of kick off all of these things that we need to get done.
Great, thanks, Sophia. Well, we have a couple of minutes. Any questions on that or anything else we've just discussed? Any comments?
Yeah, Chair Councilmember Chambliss. Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm really excited about the new committee appointments. I'm excited to hear about the focus in on housing and anti-displacement, looking at gentrification issues. And with the new committee members and what we've learned with the previous years of engagement, I'm excited that we'll be able to make some advancement in having more than just 20% BIPOC engagement. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to this next phase of the project.
Thanks, Riva, and thanks for your work and help with this regard. It really is helpful, and that goes for everybody on this committee. I would just echo what Commissioner Fernando says. This is really needs to reflect all of your commitment and interests, and I really feel confident that Met Council and Hennepin County I really have our clear eyes and open ears, and we want to work really thoughtfully through this particularly important year. I think as we kind of not only set a tone, we set some of the principles and the ways of engaging and in planning that will last for the entire project, and then once it's going. Any other last thoughts or questions? We're meeting again next month, March 11th at 1:30.
Kathy, you're on mute.
Oh, Kathy had something.
Charlie, will you guys be sending out the slides so that we
Yes.
can share them with our consuls?
We can send them out. We'll put it on the website, which is bluelineext.org.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
We'll make sure they're easy to look at.
Thank you.
As well as any additional thoughts you have, you want to email Sophia, be part of the record. Again, don't wait a month, but we'll certainly be reconvening in a month to as we track this progress. Well, it's a beautiful day in Minnesota, as we always say, and I think we've covered a lot today, and it's pretty exciting. And I really appreciate that we're kind of starting this year really with some robust momentum. So thank you all for your comments, for your engagement, and look forward to staying in touch. And thank you, Dan, Sam,
Thank you,
Sophia,
Chair.
everybody who's helped put this together. And we'll see you in March, if not before. We can adjourn. See you soon.